Hello and welcome to Profiles in Risk. This is your host, Tony Cañas, and I have with me Ifty Kerzner.
You got it.
Awesome. Co-founder and president at Kissterra. So Ifty, thank you for joining me today.
Of course. Thank you for having me.
We're recording on June 23rd. The US, we are in the middle of a heat wave. So in Atlanta, Georgia, I'm currently at 99 degrees Fahrenheit. And
you remember I come from Israel, which is basically in the desert, right?
No,
I'm not sure how Fahrenheit works. For some reason, my air conditioning in my house jumped from Celsius to Fahrenheit, and I can't find the button to push it back. So I'm trying to make it 75 degrees Fahrenheit in my house. That's about right?
Yes, that's about right.
So I downloaded an app that shows me every night when I'm trying to go to sleep what I want it to be, but it is hot here in Israel too. Okay. I can promise you, and it's getting hotter.
So that's why I bring it up, because I expect Tel Aviv to be a lot hotter than the US, and right now.
Thank you for noticing and bringing this up. You know, the podcast is called Profiles in Risk, so it's a big risk here about getting yourself in a heat wave. Although, and not to sidetrack the conversation too much, I was in Chicago last week for a conference, and it was so hot in Chicago.
We're in the middle of a heat wave, yeah.
Incredibly, like the hottest I've been in my life, and hot wind too. Not just a hot day, but and you know what happened? It was boiling hot all day. Do you know what happened at 6:15 p.m.? Tornado warning out of nowhere in Chicago last week. So it went from being scorching hot to a tornado warning on my cell phone, and then the sky in 20 minutes became like pouring rain and thunderstorms and everything. So one of the craziest times in my life. That's for a different podcast.
Welcome to the Midwest. That's very much.
I've never seen that. That was incredible.
I do have to say, it's very funny, given that you run a tech company. It's very funny that you're having trouble with the setting the thermostat back to Celsius.
Have you ever seen how the air conditioning remote controls look like? It's harder than programming a software. Like, what do all these buttons do? Or even the worst kind that has only 2 buttons and none of them change it. So I looked for like an online manual. Maybe if I press these 3 together and hold, you know, I used to have to like shut down your iPhone. You used to have to press like 5 buttons together. So anyway, I'm sleeping in Fahrenheit. So if anybody wants to ping me and tell me what's a good temperature, I'll appreciate it. But Kissterra, yes, insurance, Kissterra, we're here.
So the UI for the air conditioning remote control leaves a lot to desire.
We worked very hard here at Kissterra, so it won't be similar to my bad experience with my
Perfect.
UI air conditioning control.
So we always give the chance for the guest to give the elevator pitch. So what is Kissterra?
Perfect. So we're the world's first insurance marketing operating system. That means that we basically help insurance carriers focus on the United States, run effective, efficient, and most importantly, profitable digital marketing and distribution campaigns. This is a subject where U.S. carriers spend $140 billion a year on, and we feel like there wasn't enough new age kind of new tech presence in this, because most technology companies are focusing on, you know, you've been doing hundreds of these shows, right? So most of them are focusing on the risk, just like the name of this company, Profiles in Risk. They focus on the rating side, on the underwriting or product side. They focus on the policy management side. They focus on the claims side. Not enough companies are focusing on marketing and distribution, and especially in the last kind of year and a half, where the hard market set in, companies are finding a lot of profitability issues. You know, combined ratios are low, loss ratios are up. So you really need to find new ways, new levers to pull to become more profitable. And we're working currently with some of the largest auto insurance carriers in the United States, helping them become more profitable through their marketing and distribution. Kissterra.
Okay. So carriers in the US are without, you know, the youngest of the top 10 carriers is 80 some years old. That's Allstate. And the other ones are older.
Some of them more than 100 years old. That's true.
Exactly. In fact, 2 of the very large carriers in the States turned 100 this month.
No,
USA and State Farm.
I had a great conversation with Allison Griffin, the CMO of State Farm, on stage a couple of weeks ago, and she's an amazing individual, and she's running marketing for a company that's celebrating 100 years old, right? And I don't know where you're going with this question, but just the fact that you have these new people in this industry, right? Because she's not from insurance per se, right? She came from the tech industry and big tech companies. So the insurance company or companies in plural, although being, more legacy kind of companies, that was you were referring to, right? Being sometimes 100 years old, they're understanding that the times are changing. They're understanding the shifts. They're understanding the need to use new technology. And I believe, and we at Kissterra believe, that the first step for that is really getting the right people involved, right? Technology is only as good as the people that can embrace it or evolve, help it evolve. And I think that's a perfect example, because you set up, State Farm, of how companies are forward looking. Although they've been here for 100 years, they're still thinking of how to advance themselves, right? Companies are running amazing TikTok campaigns, which is relatively kind of the newest, maybe big platform, right? But companies are there, right? They're on the legacy kind of distribution channels. They're on the legacy marketing channels. They have the agents, they have TV, they have sporting events. Everybody has that kind of stuff. But a lot of them are increasing their online presence, from Google and Facebook and YouTube and Instagram and Snapchat and TikTok and all of and marketplaces and exchanges. The future is already here for the marketing of insurance. And I think maybe you'd be surprised, because maybe you're not as focused on the marketing side, but people would be surprised on how forward-thinking insurance carriers actually are. Because you would think, oh, exactly, these are older companies, maybe these are individuals that have been doing this for too many years, maybe they're burnt. But no, CIOs, like chief information for companies, thinking about data, thinking about how to involve that in marketing, are very forward-thinking, right? We have to understand these are huge organizations. Some of them have tens of thousands of employees. So it's still an insurance carrier. It's still very hard, to move processes, just because the beast is so big. But, I'm surprised by how forward-thinking they are, especially in the last year and a half. From our experience, we have companies that for years have been, hey, you know what? We're not really looking to embed new technologies on marketing. Everything's good. We're very profitable. But then you saw the shift coming out of COVID, when companies started becoming less and less profitable. You saw more and more movement towards, hey, you know what? Let's start testing new technology. Let's build teams that will be able to adapt, this new data. And I think that our position on this is the whole change that we see for kind of insurance marketing getting into new age is data, right? Probably a lot of people talk about it. Data is the key. People always say people are the key. That's true. People are the number one key, but after people, it's data. And what I mean by data is that, progressing into the future of insurance marketing, there's just so much data now to use. And insurance companies historically are the best data players. They invented data play, right? They're the smartest companies for a century now, you said, that know what to do about your data, right? They know who you are. They know Tony, they know where he's from, what he's about, what he does for a living, how many kids he has, his car, social security, credit score. They know all this, right? So they are the flagship of data companies. Now it's about, we have all this data, and as technology is progressing, we have more and more data, right? Device type, IP, internet connection, all this kind of data that they haven't had for the last 50 years, but have now for the last 4 or 5 years. And think about, okay, now that we have all this data, how do we do something smart with it, right? How do we make sure that we use this data in a smart way and in a way that helps us become more profitable on one side and provide a better service on the other side for our customers, which usually, they go together, these things. So I went on a rant here. What I'm trying to say is, the future is coming, the future is here. And I actually think that the large carriers are very well equipped to deal with this. They have the innovation. They just need to get, enough attention to handle all this data and use it in a way to drive smart insights, which will lead the future of marketing, of claims, of policy management, of the rating engines.
I love the passion that you clearly have for this. So I come from the carrier side, but I never worked in marketing. I worked in claims, in underwriting, in sales management, and in all those areas we had really old systems and the industry has been investing in modernizing those systems. So I'm curious, what did the digital marketing world look like before Kissterra? What gave you the idea of doing this, and how is it different now with Kissterra?
Great question. Thank you. So first off, I have to say that what you're saying is not new. What we're experiencing is 99% of the people that you will talk to when it comes to insurance and advancing insurance come from other departments. Just like you said, they come from the claims, they come from the actuary, they come from the policy management. That's why it's not new. So much of the conversation is about these parts, which is important, but then you have all these billions of dollars going to marketing. That's why I love these conversations, because it always brings something new, and we see this added value that we're able to bring. So what we brought to the table, or maybe we start kind of with how we got to it, to your question, is we came from outside the industry, which I think is always very important. I'll give our example. It can be, many examples, like we said about, Alison Griffin for State Farm, but we can give many examples. Our example is, I used to work I used to work for an Israeli billionaire that used to run online gambling websites in Europe, right? They call it online gaming, but it's online gambling. So they had very big gambling websites in Europe. So I used to go to these conferences and see this. I'm talking about a decade ago, right? I used to see this amazing technology, and everything was mobile, and everything had predictive analytics, and their marketing was based on differentiation and customer value and lifetime value and cost of acquisition. The advancement, right? Between us, we all know that kind of gambling and porn are the ones that invented, internet advancement, right? All processing, all the new technologies, all the customer differentiation, they all came from those industries. So I was lucky enough to be in one of them, maybe the good one. So when I saw all those technologies, I was like, okay, this is amazing, this is a future. Then as part of my job there, he asked me to go, and he wanted to buy a financial company in Europe, right? A bank or a lender. So as part of my job, when we were DDing the company, I saw that the way the banks were doing their marketing was 180 degrees different than what I saw casinos do, right? Casinos were super advanced, super smart, super analytical. Then you had banks, which were 50 times bigger. Their marketing budgets were 1,000 times bigger. The industry was huge, and they were like 20 years in the past. They had a pen and a pad, and they were writing kind of names. They were trying to understand channels and how it works, what's profitable. They would cross a channel. I looked at that and said, oh my God, this is incredible. This is an industry 100 times bigger, and the technology is so much more backwards. And then I kind of scratched my head and said, okay, I wonder how that looks like in America. I took a flight to America. I went to a banking conference. I saw those guys were even 20 years before the guys in Europe. I said, oh my God, in America, the banking system is even more behind. There's a lot of opportunity to provide all this new technology and change, right? So actually, when we founded Kissterra 7 years ago, we started by working with financial institutes. We said, technology here for financial institutes marketing is so much behind. If we can find a way to organize, first of all, just centralize their data. Create a centralized data hub for marketing for the first time, create a place where they can log into, see in real time what they're spending money on, where's this money going, what are they getting in return. It sounds crazy that they didn't have it 10 years ago. I want to tell you a secret. They still don't have it today. 10 years past, if you go to, many of the largest auto insurance carriers in the United States today, the largest brands that you can think about, most of them don't have a system that they can log into and see how much money they spent from today at 8 a.m. till 4 p.m. it is right now, whatever. They could be spending hundreds of thousands of dollars every day and not even know in real time where this money is going, what's getting a return. So that same logic that we had 7 years ago was build a centralized data hub and then connect it to expected lifetime value. Don't just do marketing for the sake of marketing and say, it's going to be all right, we're going to be profitable. No, connect marketing to the product team. Connect marketing to LTV, which was true for banks. And then when we kind of diverse to insurance, was true to insurance as well. Because I always say this, insurance companies and banks, they're like the human and the ape. They share 97% of the same DNA. It's the same company. They have, similar underwriting models. This is, actual, it's the same product. And they market in the same way. So we said, okay, our strengths from working with financial institutes can work for insurance carriers as well. And that's kind of how we got to that. So what's different when a company uses Kissterra is first and foremost, for the first time, complete visibility and understanding of where your marketing budget is going. And it could be $50,000, it could be $50 million, it could be $1.5 billion. Where is this money going? What am I getting in return, right? And then connecting it to other parts of the business like we spoke about, which still aren't connected. Rating isn't connected to policy management, unfortunately, isn't connected to claims. And even if a lot of companies are working on connecting them together, none of them are speaking to marketing. Even if a company knows everything about you, Tony, on the product side, for some reason, there's a disconnection between them and the marketing department. The marketing department all of a sudden knows nothing about Tony. Maybe they've seen 5,000 people like Tony. They haven't gained any insights from that. They haven't learned anything. All the data stays siloed in the company in a way that makes it difficult for them to use. And that's kind of what we change with Kissterra. We see this as a holistic data asset that the company needs to, it's their data, they own it, they need to be able to use it to make themselves kind of better and more profitable.
This episode is sponsored by Talage. For someone who has sold insurance, nothing is more tedious than quoting small commercial policies. And frankly, for many agents, selling small commercial policies is difficult and unprofitable. But then we found Talage, sponsor of the Insurance Nerds podcast. They are an API-based digital distribution platform that's changing commercial insurance. With Talage, you can quote multiple top-rated carriers in less than 10 minutes and get instant quotes. Talage makes commercial insurance quoting the easiest part of the job. If you want to make commercial quoting the easiest part of your day, then check out talageins.com/insnerds for more info. That's talageins.com/insnerds for easy commercial quoting. And if you sign up using talageins.com/insnerds, they'll waive the setup fee. Tell them Tony sent you. Now, back to our show.
And it's just cool. I mean, you talked about passion before. No, it's I'm talking about actuary. I'm talking about this stuff. It can be boring, but no, when you get excited about like we do, and when you connect the dots and you start seeing, oh my God, there's actually a correlation between what kind of a mobile device a person has and his predictability to convert and his lifetime value. Nobody's seeing this. We're actually kind of building something and changing something, which is why we're so excited about what we do. So.
Clearly, the big carriers are a great match for what you guys do. Mm-hmm. Is there like are you a good match for the regionals and super regionals, or like what is kind of the minimum the book size at which it makes sense to bring somebody like you guys?
Obviously, we're a data company, right? So you have to work on critical mass. If you're a company insuring 5 people a day, small agency, okay, we can give you our software, but that's not really, you're not going to be really able to gain any statistical relevant insights, right? There's no model you can validate on 5 people. The level of mistake, the degree is enormous. So there has to be a certain scale. I would say we're a smaller company. So our focus initially was the largest companies, right? We currently work with the largest auto insurance in the United States. And then when we got, enough of them, we start working on mid-tier, and then we'll maybe go to lower mid. But it's more a matter of focus, right? If your marketing budget is over $1 million a year, you can use our software. And there are a ton of companies there, a ton, right? It's just, we decided to start with the ones that spend over $1 billion, because we would rather be more, have more impact there than with, state or regional. But it's also, we're currently 70 something employees. So we're a rather still small company. Our impact, I think, is big, but because we're smaller on the kind of human size, because we would rather build everything on automation, but it's also a matter of focus, right? So business development is rough. You can imagine trying to sign large, American insurance carriers on a contract is not easy.
I was going to say,
it takes time.
The large carriers, yeah, it's the ones that can really benefit, it can most benefit, but they're hard to get into. How was that that process?
There isn't a door we have not knocked on. There isn't a LinkedIn account we have not pinged, an email we have not sent. You have to have this passion for it. And you know what? I think it's true for entrepreneurship in general, maybe even just more so in insurance. every entrepreneur has to be a little bit crazy in his mind to think, oh yeah, somebody's going to think my idea is, good or better than something that they have and choose me. To think that a $100 billion worth company with 70,000 employees, that you can pinpoint the right person, even that is hard enough. Just understanding, who do I need to approach? Because different companies have different titles, right? It could be a head of, director of, senior manager of. So who do I even approach, right? Is it somebody from the information side, the data side, the marketing side, the technology, IT, right? Because who do you even approach in a company that has 60,000 people? So even identifying the right person takes a lot of time, and we invest a lot of time and money just initially understanding who the person is within this huge giant company enterprise that I need to talk to. And then we make an approach, and then you know what happens. Tony, you have experience. What happens when you make the approach?
Well, it takes forever to get in front of them, and then every decision is made by committee. It takes 2 years to make.
I'll start easier. They don't answer.
Yeah,
you make the first approach. They don't answer for like 12 months until they see you on enough podcasts and enough conferences, And honest to God, I think most of the business that we've gotten is just by people seeing us so much. They're like, you guys are so persistent. It's like, you're from Israel, but I see you in America more than I see American companies. I have to give you guys a chance. Like, they see us every conference, every time, and we ping them. And just in that persistent, you have to be persistent. You have to be confident, right? Never pushy, never aggressive. But I think persistence is good, and people value that. So if you're persistent enough and you understand that no is just a beginning of a conversation, right? Then you say, okay, maybe not now. You're a carrier, right? Would the beginning of 2023 make sense for me to reapproach you? Yes, it's 6 months from now, but you have to build that patience. And then you talk to them January 2023, and they're like, oh no, still no, we're overpacked, we're backlogged, our IT, we can't onboard any new technology. So, oh, no worries. Can I reach out in Q3? Q3 of 2023 comes. Q1 of 2024 comes. Q2 of 2025 comes. But eventually, something happens. So if you're there long enough and you believe in your product, you can win this uphill battle, right? And also you need to have a good product, right? If it's BS, then it doesn't matter what you're trying to sell, because carriers can see right through that. But I think if you have a good product and you're confident and you're persistent, you're gonna get a chance. I have to believe that, right? I have to be optimistic and believe that. And I think we're living proof of that. We were a new company. Nobody gave us a chance. Nobody thought we were going to do anything. And then, in 4 years, we grew to be relatively big. We were able to raise, $76 million from Israel's largest insurance company and Israel's large bank, really believing in our technology. Our revenues are high enough to be considered, a successful company. So I think it's living proof of this can be done. And I want to encourage also more new companies coming into the insurtech space, because I think, the space needs all the innovation that it can get. So don't be discouraged, people. If anybody's seeing this and they're like a vendor or a tech provider, we know it's a rough battle, guys, but go for it. Come on, I'll power to the people. We can do it. Get that contract, sign it, get paid.
And any customer success stories that you can share, and if you want to use the company name and you're allowed, there's no rule on my side keeping you from it, but if you can't use the company name,
so there's a rule on my side preventing
that's usually the case,
because I want to say, once you get that contract, do anything you can not to lose the contract.
Of course.
The best way to lose a contract is to go around and running, and naming companies' names, especially when you're a data company like us, that's really super, super defensive about our partners and about the data that we withhold. But we have plenty of success stories. I think one of the first one that comes to mind is just a very large auto insurance carrier in the United States, by using our platform, was able to double conversion in 6 quarters. So double conversion, not increase conversion by 10 or 20%, not 40 or 50%, 100% increase in conversion. To give an example, if before they used our technology, their conversion was 2%, after a year and a half, it was 4% across the board. I think that's unheard of, right? It's a huge increase, and you can just imagine what that can do to a profitability of a company.
Oh, absolutely.
I'm not taking all the credit. There's attribution issues and people say, how can you attribute the success? I understand all that. We have randomized tests to show correlation or causation and not just correlation. I can go about that conversation, but it's not about that. It's about, okay, if I'm exaggerating, hey, this is Ifty, he's trying to, he's exaggerating. Okay, so 70% can 100% be attributed to us. I think it's still impressive. And it just makes a lot of sense. If companies spend money, if they understand first where they're spending their money, and they get a system that allows them to gain, automatic insights towards what's actually working, what's not, where to spend, sometimes even more important, where to stop. If you're not selling policies for a certain demographic, a certain zip code, a certain car type, a certain age group, a certain mobile phone carrier, and I can go on and on. If you're not selling policies there, stop marketing. If you're spending millions of dollars on a weekend and nobody's buying policies on a weekend, on digital marketing, if you want to be on TV, you can put ads on TV all day. But digital marketing, if you're putting an ad in front of somebody at a time that there's 0% for them to convert, save that money. Put that ad again on Monday when the conversion is, 5%, right? And that's just kind of a very rough example, overview. But you can understand where this is going. When you spend the money where it should actually be spent, it increases conversion, increases profitability, increases everything. And it's actually not very difficult once you see the system. You have to have the right system in place. You have to have the right algorithms. You have to have the right data. But once it's live, it's not a messy, because a lot of carriers are also afraid of kind of a burden, right? Oh, come on, don't burden me with new technology. I don't need this headache. I have a good life. Leave me alone. So we've built kind of technology understanding that. Don't give people a headache. Don't make it super complicated. Don't make them need to log into 50 things and do all these calculations by themselves. Chew it up for them, present it in digestible, bite-sized kind of chunks, and that's the way you can, start producing change slowly but surely, and really providing value. If you can show value as fast as you can, even if it's small, but show small wins, show why this is working, show why this is easy, show why this is good ROI for them, then that's kind of the way to do it.
What's the integration like? So we look at the system, we like it, we want to move forward with it.
Amazing. Not to make the conversation too boring, because this is usually kind of a separate setup call when we do as part of our onboarding process. I can only say, it's low code, low cost, low risk. Once again, just the philosophy I spoke about a minute before is, we understand this cannot be another kind of multi-year integration that requiring IT, to get it set. No, it's super easy, super low code. It really depends on how the data is structured for every company, and the data is structured differently for every company, right? Some companies use everything, ingrown. They've built their own platforms. Some companies use third parties to digest data, to store it, to structure it. So it's a custom solution for every carrier, but we can be live within a week.
Oh, wow. Okay. So that is lightning fast.
Literally within a week. And that all depends on how you're structured. If it's a little bit more complicated, yes. Sometimes it takes months for us to integrate, but that's usually because of bureaucracy and not technology. You understand what I'm talking about? It's usually because the tech integration was really fast, but somebody didn't understand how to get the permission for this, or how can we say?
It took 6 weeks to get
an answer
to
exactly. It's I'm waiting for somebody in the product department to tell me, how do I get access to this file, right? Or I logged into the wrong file. It's going to take me 3 months to now change the file. And I'm like, it's a name of a file, just change it. But we understand it's due process. Large companies, take your 6 months, change the name of the file. Once you've changed it, we're ready. You know how many stories I have about carriers saying, oh yeah, I mislabeled the file, 2 instead of 3. And I said, okay, well, what does that mean? No, now I need to get permission to change the name to 2 from compliance. I need to get permission from compliance to change the name of the file from 2 to 3. I'm like, that makes no sense, but yeah, we're here. Let us know when you want to go back live and kind of, change the name of the file. So that's, I'm joking, but that's usually the kind of the part. The tech integration, that's all we do. We're a tech company. We're very good at this. So if you're a carrier and you use any kind of internal software, external software. If you're using a fax machine, we can integrate, right? If you want to fax in the customers or whatever, we'll integrate to that. So it's not, that's not a kind of a worry. No heavy lifting on their side, which is maybe the most important part.
Excellent. This has been fantastic. I love the energy. I love the passion for what you guys are doing. Truly, like, I'm so glad that you came on the show. It's been a ton of fun. When it goes live, I will tag you on LinkedIn. I just sent you an invite.
Now we'll promote it. We got that's what you do. What you got to do to promote yourself in the industry. That's what we're talking about. Got to get yourself in front of the carriers.
Awesome. Thank you very much for your time. I look forward to see you guys.
Tony, muchas gracias. Let us know if you're getting to any of the conferences, because we're doing a lot. We have Nashville next week. Then we have a couple. Then obviously ITC is a big one.
I'll definitely be at ITC.
There. So ping us. Let's grab a coffee there or something.
Thank you.
Thank you, buddy. Bye-bye. Thanks a lot.